So I can give you 5 or 6 separate trips to Africa right now that are completely different geographically, what you're going to see, the cultural experiences, and so on. So it's a little bit like saying I'm only going to go to Europe once. So now back to your question of the logistics of getting around. That's why we generally will focus on certain areas at a time, unless somebody really has a month and they've got 28, 30, 34 days and they simply can take off. Then it is possible to do Southern, Central, and Eastern Africa in a month. But for most people, the average traveler is going to go from somewhere from 10 to 14 days. So we're perhaps going to do 3 different things in that time. We'd do a Cape Town, we'd do safari, we'll do Victoria Falls. On their second trip, we might do Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, something like that. Or most people on second trip, if they started with South Africa, will then go to East Africa. And I love Tanzania because in Tanzania, there are 4 areas that you can go to in a 12-day trip, and each of the 4 areas completely different, i.e. namely Tarangire, Ngorongoro, Serengeti, and Lake Manyara. All have magnificent wildlife, all have an incredible experience, and all are a little bit different. So it's like going to 4 sort of small European countries in one trip. So that's generally how we're going to lay it out. Then when you talked about rail travel and so on, so these now become add-ons. It's very interesting to see what people, rail travel, I'm an absolute rail travel buff. I just, 16 days across Russia on the Trans-Siberian Express is my idea of heaven. I love it. Not the local Trans-Siberian, but the luxury one, the Golden Eagle, or something similar. I love it. I know that product very well, and I would love that. And a lot of people have looked at me and said, "Are you absolutely crazy? 3 days on a train, I wouldn't do it." So if you want to do something like the Blue Train that goes from Johannesburg or Pretoria down to Cape Town for a couple of nights, it's a truly luxurious, amazing experience. And if somebody's intrigued, of course, we can make that happen. Then you have somebody like Rovers Rail that does anything from 2 nights to 16 nights all over Africa. Same thing. But I think those generally, when those requests are coming, these are people that really have a very specific interest in rail travel and love to do it and always have to remember it's a little bit different from Rocky Mountaineer, where you're getting off every night and staying in a hotel. On these trips, you actually sleep on the train in absolute luxury. I mean, it's just fantastic. The service is incredible, but it's not for everybody. But anybody that is interested in that and wants to have a go, try it on a short trip or really knows they're into it and wants to do the longer ones, we can absolutely make that happen as well. And then, then we're going to look at the logistics of getting from one spot to the next. And a lot of times, particularly in South Africa, it's going to be done by air because it's fastest. But a lot of times in East Africa, it's great to move from one of those areas or regions to the other by land, because then you get to see even more of Africa and rural Africa that's not safari Africa, and you go through villages and so on. So it's very important to us, and we work very closely with you because we're a great believer in your client. That's why we don't sell directly to the public. Your client is your client. And we are bringing, so we're a great believer in, the nuances, what your clients want. That's why they work with you and why they should be working with you as a travel advisor. It's what you bring to the table as a travel advisor, which we think is very, very valid and very important. And we know the product. So then you take the knowledge of your client, we take the knowledge of our product, and we marry these 2 pieces of information together to create the absolute perfect trip of a lifetime.